come and be marching in front of their oppressors. A situation whereby the workers are being oppressed the way we are, and then we are also expected to come and stand in the sun for hours, and our oppressors will stay under the shade, and we will continue to march in front of them, is in fact another thing that some of us are thinking of now, that marching in front of oppressors is not supposed to be permitted any longer. Because whereas work is supposed to be an antidote for poverty, in Nigeria, work is actually driving people into poverty. The Nigerian worker has been impoverished for too long. That does not even, merit a situation whereby he will now go and stand in front of his oppressors and start to march. If you look at the discoveries we see nowadays, the amount of monies we find in cemeteries, in strange places that are coming out, we still find it difficult to be able to pay the people that are actually generating the wealth for the nation. Because elsewhere where things are taken as being very important, they actually know what the contribution of the worker is in the building of a nation. The way Nigerian workers have to beg caps in hand and go before their oppressors every time should stop. I do not see a situation whereby you expect workers to come and be listening to preaching every year, where people will stand in front of them and start to talk to them about recession, about macroeconomics, about all the things that are not important to them. What is important to the worker is that his wages, which is what he's entitled to, having worked to contribute to the development of a nation, should not be a thing of discussion. It should be his right. It should be what is given to him before he even asks of it. He is not asking for something that is extra. He's not asking for the profit. He's not asking for the interest. He's only asking for his wages. So it should not be a thing that they should be discussing anyhow the way they are doing it. Anytime there is bargaining for workers' salary, there must be provision for when there are inflation, when there are changes in the economy, then they must be able to put these openings there so that the workers' need is actually taken care of. I tell you, most Nigerian workers are seriously indebted that by the time you give them a salary of the next month, they already have nothing to actually live with. And you see, Nigeria is just penny wise, pound foolish. Because if you have a group of workers that are not happy, they're not going to build the nation. You want to take the nation out of recession, you depend on worker. The worker is the most important aspect of production. And so if such a worker is kept in a way that is unhappy, that is hungry, that is angry, then the nation will be losing for it. So we need happy workers actually to take Nigeria out of recession, to actually get development coming our way. So it is in the interest of the nation to take the interest of the workers at the center of their hearts, not even that of the workers. Thank you.
It's all right, Professor. Let's quickly talk about the role that unions play in all of this. There's a question of whether Nigerian workers are well represented. Prior to this time, it was NLC. TUC came along. Now, I don't know if you're aware, we also have a United Labour Congress, and then there doesn't seem to be so much cohesion and agreement amongst all of these groups. While some are asking for 56,000, others are saying it should be 96,000. Others are saying we don't even need an increase in money as much as increase in the value of money. How well do you think Nigerian workers can be represented to the point that they get what they truly deserve in this part of the world?
Well, the history of state intervention in trade unionism is not new to us. If you look at the group of people that are coming up as worker representatives, if you look at the history of trade unionism in Nigeria, you see that our oppressors are usually united in their oppression activities. And what they do as a stock in trade is to try to throw spanner in the midst of the workers. They are going to bring some workers that we call Olobe. They bring them and then they empower them. They sponsor people to go in the midst of workers so that workers will not be united. And the idea is that a people united can never be defeated. What is happening today is that they are trying to put people whose interests do not represent the interests of the workers at the ends of affairs. And that is the reason why some of us are engaged in mobilizing the right set of people to actually take leadership in the workers' unions. Elsewhere, workers' unions are supposed to represent the interests of their members both at work and outside the workplace. But if you allow me to go into the history of intervention of the state in trade unionism in Nigeria, you can see that it has come a long way. If you will recall that in 1981, one of the most successful general strike in Nigeria, which was led by our comrade trustee Hassan Sumanu, as at that particular time was one of the most successful. Government at that time sponsored group led by Ojeli and Oko to actually go into their midst to make sure that they do not unite, because they know that a united workforce is going to give the employers a lot of a problem, and that they are going to fight to actually get themselves out of oppression. So what you are seeing today is just because of even the intervention of the state in the formation of union centers. You recall that even when NLC tried to organize a central election, we saw the hands of the government in everything that was happening at that particular time. So all those things that you see, they are not the making of the workers. The workman in the shop floor is more interested in his welfare, and he will want the best set of people to actually represent him. But the employers themselves have actually been able to form themselves into a union too, and they are also fighting back. So what you see as division among the workers now is the machinations of the oppressors that still continues. But definitely, you know that a strong workers' union at the center is going to be in the best interest of the workers. But presently, what we have is not in the best interest of the workers. And that is why many of us, especially ASU, I know, is in the process of actually mobilizing the workforce to ensure that we have a very strong center to be able to confront oppression as much as possible, because workers in Nigeria are actually facing oppression.
Konji, before we let you go this afternoon, a quick last one. Yesterday, I did ask our guest on the program how we can bring all this down to our reality today. The government of the day is so enthusiastic about fighting corruption. How do you effectively fight corruption, especially in the workforce, when you have dissatisfied workers everywhere who have families they must cater for and will do anything to put food on the table? How are we going to fare in this fight against corruption?
Thank you. You actually provided part of the answer to your question yourself, because the hungry man is actually an angry man. How do you fight corruption in the midst of unhappiness among the workers? It's a very serious problem. And that is the reason why, to be able to fight the corruption, nobody will come from outside Nigeria to fight corruption for us. It is we Nigerians who will say no to this corruption. And by the time the workers become disenchanted, because they are actually they are described by somebody as traditionally the most elusive social class, those that are orphans of a dead democracy. And that's essentially what we are seeing today. The situation of the workers is actually not going to support the anti-corruption fight. How do you encourage a man who has been living in poverty for so long to actually speak out when he sees money outside that is actually supposed to be for government, and the person that is actually stealing the money has called him aside and said, look, are you going to die in poverty? I'm going to give you this, and he's going to raise it. When he says no, his wife and children will also say that, look, daddy, we are not going to allow you to say no to this. So you can see that it is easier to bribe and to make a person who is hungry to buy in into corruption. So if we actually want this corruption thing, which is a very good step in the right direction that many of us are supporting, and we are so happy that the government of the day is doing it and is making history in Nigeria, we really need to get workers to be happy. Salaries of workers should not be a thing that they should be debating in the way they are doing it today. Iṣẹ́ lògùn iṣẹ́, that is what we know. And the workers are supposed to come out of poverty for working, not to become further entrenched and enmeshed in poverty. You cannot fight corruption with hungry people. Even if in your house you keep your children hungry, they are not going to be faithful to you if someone else from somewhere comes and give them something for them to eat. The Yorubas will say that once if you eat plantain, you will not be able to speak the truth again. And that's essentially the reason why government should take the welfare of workers as uppermost if this anti-corruption fight is going to go anywhere.
How much time can permit us to take from Ibadan? We just spoke with Professor Tajuddin Akonji of the Institute of Peace and Conflict Resolution from
University of
Ibadan. Let's come quickly to the legal practitioner. Earlier we were talking about the constitutional right of the average Nigerian worker. Yesterday we talked about the 8-hour work rule, 40 hours a week. Not many employers obey this rule. But how do we, in the midst of many injustice being meted out to Nigerian workers, how do workers rise above this?
Well, I think it's a bit difficult. It's pretty difficult, and I say that without mincing words. You see, if you look at the picture we have painted here ever since, and the one painted by Professor Akanji, you can see that everything boils down to some two key issues. Number one is corruption, and the other one is poverty. I can tell you without, if a man has engaged you to come and work, and given the fact that if you leave his employment, you are going to find it pretty difficult to get another job. Then the man, whether you like it or not, wants to toss you around for as long as he can afford. You see, there are situations in the past that the state governments, one or two of them, even at the federal level, that they say, oh, look, if you embark on a strike, on a boycott, that we are going to lay you off and all whatnot. But simply because they know that the situation, the economy is terribly bad.
Civil service driven.
And you see, they know fully well that, look, it's like the division that he talked about. It's because for almost every Nigerian, perhaps I would say 85% of Nigerians, there's always a price for which you can be bought. That's the truth. Otherwise, why would you have, if collectively we are not able to succeed in getting a thing done, then is it when we are divided that we will get it done? If you look at all of this, poverty is at the bottom. It's a fundamental issue that hasn't been tackled.
Corruption has built a mansion on it.
Did that build a mansion on it?
But are we saying that it's an impossible situation?
If you look at it, beyond that again, you see, someone spoke to me some few months back. She talked about contributory
schemes.
No, I can't. Thrift contribution. These pension funds, the pension fund. You know, he contributes and all whatnot. He asked a question. She asked a question that, look, she found out that our employer has not been adding
what they should,
they should, and pay it to the appropriate place. And I said, look, now you really need to find out. And at a point, I asked her a question. That, do you still care for that job? She says yes. I said that's going to be too difficult for us to fight it out, because perhaps if you want to keep that job, the moment you take it up against that company, you are going
you can't take your employer.
Yes, you can't. Yes, you guys. I'm coming.
Exactly.
I'm not saying that. I'm not on the side of the employer for doing what is wrongful. But I'm just.
But it's just the reality.
I'm just being practical. Look, I'm a counsel and I'm a lawyer, and I should protect your job, number one. And I ask her that question. If today you have decided that you are leaving this job, come what may, then definitely it's going to be much easier for us. And I don't like people writing anonymous letters. So you don't have to write an anonymous petition against your employer. And you say, perhaps you are even right. And if you write that letter, someone somewhere will come and ask, do a finding. And if it is found out eventually that the company has actually been doing what they are supposed to do, I'm not sure that employer will be happy with you any moment.
Okay, let me butt in here. Let me butt in here, because I find it a bit ridiculous that states are not paying workers' salaries with the allocation they get, you know, and the internally generated revenues. Most states do that.
Paris refund.
Yes, and every other thing, you know. Isn't it ridiculous that they can't pay salaries? And speaking of that, who really can't we question, or can't the law question these governors on their expenditure? Can nobody ask questions?
Well, this is you see, the problem is a bit fundamental. I will say this again. All the governors that we have in Nigeria I will say it, except for one or two, they are not better than mere salary payers. They contribute, the state contribute almost nothing. They have nothing that could be called production. And if you have someone who goes cap in hand at the close of every month to Abuja to pick money, he comes back to his state to pay workers. He has nothing that he is doing. So basically, you have a problem with such person.
He's just a paymaster.
Yeah, he's a paymaster. It's not more than a salary payer. And that is the situation that we have found ourselves. We really need to see, if you look at it so many things, so many wrongs could be found in our laws. Number one, labor is under the exclusive legislative list.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be. Population is under the exclusive legislative list. It shouldn't be. Prisons is under the exclusive. It shouldn't be. Let these governors be responsible for once. If a state wants to do its very best, then you must be able to feed people that are living within your state. You must be able to pay your workers. Now, that's, you know, they usually give one excuse. Oh, the federal government determines. Why must the federal government determine? You want to restructure so that you can be better off. If you want to restructure, let everything be restructured once and for all.
Let's allow Madam Seka.
I want to say something. Okay, I'll probably give you an instance of a state. I know of Bauchi State, and I know of Kogi State. These states have been having their verification exercise since like forever. I know my friends in Bauchi want to kill me for this, but I have to say it. And I was okay. Now you say some workers. Well, let's take Kogi for instance. Says some workers are not being cleared, but these workers are still going to work while they are not being cleared. So even if at the end of the day you come back and tell them or tell us that they didn't make it, what about for those months they've worked for? Are you not going to pay them? So these are the it's for lack of or want of word, the madness in governance that we see in Nigeria. And it's not just about going capping down to Abuja. Most of these states governors run what I call spontaneous governance. What just comes to their mind, let me do this just to get popular. Most of their plans and policies are not well thought out. They blame the federal government for some things wrong, and you look at even the local governments that they are meant to be in charge. An average governor sees the local government areas and councils in his domain as an appendage of his political structures. You hardly find them conducting local government elections. In fact, Oyo State since 2000 and what have you has not conducted local government elections, and he calls himself a Democrat. So these are things, these are aberrations.
No, what's the essence of the election? Even because when they do, the ruling party wins most of these.
No, it's not about. I'm not citing this.
We win all.
No, it's decided election.
No.
Because
if the LGT, because the local government has a role to play in education. There are some LGEA schools that they are meant to even pay the teachers and what have you. They are not there. It's not functioning. In fact, most of us have even forgotten if our local government councils in Nigeria. There are some civil servants in the local government as well. Look at the state. The state has, you can't expect the federal government to be paying for the states. There are some federal institutions that have liaison offices and what have you, and federal ministries across the system of the federation. What is the state doing? So you see, we can always work towards this restructuring and confederalism and true federalism, and I hold it to even without changing the laws. You could just the constitution empowers you to run your state, empowers you to handle the local government thing. So start, okay, you just, okay,
let's start from there.
Let's start from there.
We have.
I'm giving the local government autonomy.
Sometimes ago, somebody raised an issue. He said he's been to the ministries and he found out that a lot of the workers are idle, gisting. They are playing Ludo and playing some other games. I said, too bad for the government and for the governor of that state. Ordinarily, you should be able to engage your workers. They shouldn't be idle for any reason. Like if someone were to be a governor of Ekiti State, you pass through all these grains that you see on the road before you get to Ekiti and within and around Ekiti. So much to do. Farming could be done. People can be gravely engaged to do something meaningful. It's not compulsory that you should be in an office.
Okay, all right. Time is fast running.
Before we go, I had this agenda. I know my probably come against me if I want to see public office. I want to say, if we want to start this country, I want this country to move. If you want to start any reform, in fact, start with the police. And by the time you start with the police, the bad eggs or the people you ship out, Lagos to Sokoto is a large, massive land. Your prison, because for that is pedigree for lying with fake certificates. You just do me the farming program.
Okay, all right. That's the topic for another day's discussion. But before we close the curtain on the program today, quickly, a quick reaction here from John Saondo from Makurdi in Benue State. He says governors have become emperors in their states. Labour is interested in the federal civil service and have forgotten to talk about the state governors who are stealing workers' salaries. The problem is not Buhari nor his health. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, for finding time to come. We've been speaking with Barrister Adekunle Ojo, former NBA Vice President. Thank you for joining us on the show.
So much.
Malam Yemi Seka is a public affairs analyst. Thank you guys for coming.
Are we in good trouble today, are we?
And of course, earlier we spoke with Professor Tajuddin Akonji from the University of Ibadan, that was from Oyo State, as well as Honorable Bolaji Yusuf Ayinla, House of Reps member from Abuja. What you said reminded me of what the Imo State governor said at the time, that he perhaps would have civil servants work for a few days and go to the farm the other days. I think all of this should open our
Well, it should start from the government house.
and open our eyes to 2019. We shouldn't vote for paymasters. We should ask governors if indeed they have plans to increase the IGR of their states. That's the only way we can get better as a nation. I'm Nifemi Oguntoye, and we'll be back tomorrow with another exciting one.
Have yourself a good day. Bye for now.
That was the situation earlier today at Eagle Square, venue of the May 1 Workers' Day celebration. The situation could be better described as chaotic, as aggrieved workers staged a protest against the representative of the Minister of Labour and Employment, who was called up to speak, while the Minister of Labour waited to take the president's speech. She mounted the podium but was booed out. After several pacifications that never worked, Dr. Chris Ngige himself also came to the podium but was also rejected. The workers remained resolute, demanding minimum wage and no speeches. In separate interviews, the workers poured out their anger, saying it has been suffering all the way. From increase in the fuel pump price to inflation, the non-payment of these various packages, the workers threatened hell for the Nigerian government if nothing is done fast.
As a matter of fact, every Nigerian is angry. As a matter of fact, every Nigerian is angry. As you can see, we were actually expecting the president to come and address the labor and other ministry union that represented Nigeria here, Nigerian workers here, but unfortunately they could not come. He designated the minister to represent him. At that process, the minister asked somebody to represent him, and that person nominated somebody to represent. So that is exactly what triggered the whole thing.
We are sick and tired of all this deceit. They have been telling us over the years that they were going to harmonize